Well, good afternoon, Fireflies. So, as we discussed on our previous video, today I'm actually going to be working on installing the lithium-ion batteries in our Intech Horizion camper here.
If you like watching our videos, we'd really appreciate it if you'd take just a minute and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe so you'll be notified when we get new videos. And we just want to take a moment and let everybody know how much we do appreciate it. It does mean a lot and helps us out very much, and we look very much forward to doing many more videos in the future.
Don't forget to ring that bell to get notified of upcoming videos. So right now we have a 100 amp hour AGM battery that's factory installed. And what we learned from the first time we went boondocking is a 100 amp hour battery actually doesn't last quite as long as you might think it would. And especially because it's an AGM battery, which I'll put what that means up here. You can only run those to about 50% of their load. You're not supposed to go below 50%. If you go below 50%, it actually can hurt the overall lifespan of that battery. So what we learned really quick is it's just not going to work for us. On our trip that's coming up out west, we're going to have several days where we're spending at least 2 nights at a boondocking resort or campground, whatever you want to call it. The first being in Arches in Utah. So we're going to go there, and it's going to be, who knows what the temperature is going to be. It's going to be mid-August, mid to late August at that point. So I'm sure it's going to be hot. So we need all the fans we can get to survive. I'm sure nighttime isn't going to be too bad, but daytime, it's probably going to get up there. So we decided, you know what, we're going to put in some lithium batteries, and we're going to double our capacity. And in essence, putting in 2 100 amp hour lithium phosphate batteries. You'll hear it online a lot as LiFePO batteries. You can actually take these down to 0% and then recharge them over and over and over again. Whereas a deep cycle engine or an AGM battery, like I said, you can actually damage the battery by discharging it more than about 50% without recharging it. So what I'm going to do today is take you through all the little steps. I'm going to actually be learning as we go. So if I fumble around a little bit, you'll understand, right? But I will show you the area that we're going to be working these in. So I'll show you some other tricks from another Facebook user. And a big thank you. I haven't actually looked at how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to be doing that. And I really like how he used what he had in order to make this work. So stick with me, and I will be right back, and I'll show you the first couple of things. Okay, so we're out here in front of Serenity, and the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what we purchased in order to install in the camper. So this right here is the battery. It's a Renogy. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's a little dark in here. We're inside a warehouse. It's where we store our camper. So this is a Renogy. It's a smart lithium iron phosphate battery. It does have Bluetooth. I'll show you that. I'll show you some live stuff on my phone once we start getting things hooked up. So the first thing we had to do when getting a battery like this, because they come from the manufacturer in essentially sleep mode. There might be another term for it, but they are asleep when you receive them. So what you have to do is you have to wake the batteries up. In order to do that, you use a battery charger. So I got this one. This is a 20 amp battery charger. I'll post the link below where we got this on Amazon. And the way you wake them up is you just hook it up to this charger. This one, you can actually select that it's a lithium iron phosphate battery. You select that, you plug it in, you let it charge all the way up to 100%, and then you can do your install. Now, if you let these batteries go for, I think it's 24 hours, without them being used or charged or trickle charged or anything, they will go back into sleep mode. So it's a really great function. So if you disconnect your battery switch in your camper, these batteries will automatically go to sleep after 24 hours of non-use. So it'll save the batteries. So I charged these up about 2.5 weeks ago, Came back today to do this install, and I was like, I need to plug them back in just to make sure they come out of sleep mode again and to make sure that they're charged up 100%. And we thought we might not be able to do this video till tomorrow, but it turns out they still had 100% charge in both the batteries. So they did their job. They kept 100% of their charge and they went back to sleep, and they hibernated for us, waiting for us to put them in the camper. So now we get to the next part. I'm not an expert at any of these things. I'm going to just say that right up front. I'm not an expert. So Erica's over working in another shop that we have over here, doing some little organizing while I do all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to take you through what I'm doing step by step. This is not a tutorial. Just please take this as somebody who's doing it that you can take some ideas from. Please do your own research, because I've seen actually a couple of different ways that people have installed these batteries. I believe that this way is proper. I'm going to put up on the screen as we're going through it instructions actually out of their manual, and showing you descriptions and diagrams of the right way of hooking things up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our table and the post and our little carpet down here that we put in at the bottom. We're going to do those things to give us lots of space. We're actually going to remove all the cushions from over here on the side, and we're going to do that to get it, of course, out of our way so we've got free access to it. And this is going to be a multi-step project. I might not be able to get it all done today because I'm going to go nice and slow, and I'm going to make sure I do everything the right way. You'll have to pardon the video here. I somehow hit time lapse on my GoPro, and so it was not able to capture the audio and the video properly. So you'll see there's the top of the battery compartment right there that I removed. And this is actually the AGM battery that's installed by Intech. So what I'm doing now is I am removing the exterior vent and taking the two sides of the box apart and then unscrewing it from the base. Okay, so both sides of the battery box that was in there have these little attachment parts for the vents. One of them went out of the camper on the bottom and one of them went out to the side. So I'm going to use these to set both batteries into like this. So in order to make that work, I have to cut these flat so they'll lay flat on the surface in there. So I'm going to just use a saw and trim off the vent where it is level with the rest of the box. Okay, so you can see in there now that there's actually a hole, and that's where the vent was, and it goes all the way to the outside of the camper. So what I'm going to do is I've got this piece of plywood here. It's a small piece of plywood that I used for laser cutting designs out of, and I am going to slide this down here, cover that hole, and then I'm going to lay both of the batteries up on top of this and screw this down into the subfloor. And then what I'm going to do is going to come up from the bottom of the camper, and I'm going to fill in that entire hole with caulking, and I'm just going to seal it up from the underside. And that way I don't have to worry about the inside. So I'm also going to probably keep this vent and just attach it to the wood here, so I can keep it here as an extra additional venting essentially, or a precaution for the outside, and just run anything through it that I need to the outside, which is where I'm talking about running my antenna. So I'm going to push the antenna line through here and out and then up into my router, which I'll be able to move that router. I'm going to keep lots of extra line underneath here. So, you know, sometimes when you park on one side, you'll have better coverage, or the front, or even on the other side. So I'm going to leave it to where I have plenty of slack on that antenna wire attached into the router, and have it coming in from the outside through a hole that's already in the camper. So here you'll see that I'm trying a couple of different configurations of the box to see how it would fit the best. So what I settled on was two side by side here, to give it good amount of space, so in case any movement of the batteries during transport won't damage the outside of the camper. So using the two lids is actually a trick that I saw from a fellow Facebook user, and one of the smartest things I've seen yet. So I don't know if he installed the same battery type as me. I mean, I know he installed Lithium. I don't know if he's installed Renogy's or not. But the same premise works for all the batteries. So I'm going to install both the batteries in the same direction. And I've got the connectors that'll make both of these batteries go in what's called parallel. Parallel means that you're using the same voltage but doubling your amperage. So we're still going to have 12 volt. The batteries are going to work together to keep 12 volt, but we'll have twice as much battery because they will flow into each other. Now, if you hook these things up wrong, I believe the term is tandem, but if not, I'll put it up in the corner if that's wrong. But I believe the term is in tandem. And if you do them in tandem, what you're doing is the opposite. You're doubling your voltage to 24 volts, but keeping the same amperage at 100 volts. And that is the first thing. You plug that in and you turn that switch to allow the juice through, and it will literally fry your entire system. So this is where I'm a little leery. I'm going to test these as soon as I get them hooked up, just to see that I'm getting the right voltage out. And if everything looks good, I'm going to go by it. Like I said, I'll put up on the screen right now the diagram in the Renogy's documentation for these batteries about the proper way of hooking them up in parallel. So you'll see it on the screen where you go from the positive to the positive, negative to negative, and then on the positive side, you got your positive hookups coming in, and then on the negative side, you got, on the opposite negative, you have your negative sides going out, your grounds essentially going out. So I'm going to be taking this one step at a time. I'm going to be checking and rechecking and rechecking again, because the last thing I need is to fry my camper. They fit perfect in there. One thing I will be doing once I've got everything hooked up is putting some straps that I bought some cheap lockdown straps at Harbor Freight, and I'm going to cut some strapping off of it, and I'm going to attach it going across. Now, do I really need to do that? Probably not. The weight of these alone should be good enough, but I don't want them moving at all once I have them in place. So I'm just going to strap from one side all the way across to the other side and really lock them down. Okay, so here's the positive side, here's the negative side. So I got these extra thick connection wires, because the heavier duty the wires that you go between your batteries, the less resistance you're going to have. So what you do is you have your negatives and you have your positives from the system. So I put all these together, and they came with these extra long screws just in case you needed them. Now, what you're supposed to do is go the negatives and then hook the system into the negative side. So I need to stretch these over like that. And because I'm going to be connecting the system to this one, I'm going to replace it with the extra long screw that was included. To the negative here. And I'm going to pull the system wires over to it. And I'm going to do the same thing I did for the positive side. I'm going to over tighten them quite yet, but they're down pretty good. Check them all real quick. Okay. Okay, so the system wiring is going. I'll strap that down once I've got it all in place. Okay, so this first image is what the batteries look like when I first hooked them up and didn't have a chance to clean them up. So then I disconnected everything, put on the post covers so it would protect it from anything that might get laid down on top of it. Okay, you can look at the system again here. Let me zoom out. So you've got positive to positive, negative to negative. You've got the system positive coming out, and you got the negative for the system coming out of this one. So you have them on opposite sides. So the next step that you got to do here is to take the cover off your converter. Now, this is a progressive dynamics power converter system. If you look it up online, the manual is under PD4135. So what you have to do is take off the screw that's right in this spot right here, and then you pry very carefully from the left and right on the side and the bottom on both sides as well, and it will creak and it'll yell and it'll eventually pop off. So make sure it doesn't fly across your room and break. Okay, so if you're looking at this, I'm going to zoom in here. Right there is the lithium switch. So right now it's set on lead acid batteries, and I am going to switch that to lithium, and that'll work with both standard lithium and lithium iron phosphate batteries as well. And so we're going to slip it in there. And that was interesting because all the lights just got a little bit brighter. Okay, so I have flipped the switch. You can see it like in a little up position right there. What was interesting when I did that, it seemed like the lights got a little bit brighter. So not too sure why. Maybe it handles the electricity going through the system a little bit different. But nothing popped. But right now I do not have the battery engaged. Okay, right now it's still disconnected. So what we're going to do is flip over. Okay, the lights just got a little bit darker. Not bad. Nothing popped. So we go down here, touch the lines. Nothing's warm to the touch. Okay, so that's all good. So the next test we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the main power outside that I've got coming in, and we're going to see if everything switches over. So come out outside. And yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. We're redoing things. So I've got this connected. So I'm going to pull that. Back inside. And all the lights are still on. Fans are still running. That is very, very, very good. Okay, so we're going to feel the wires here. Nothing's heating up. Nothing on the circuit box is popping. If we hook this up the wrong way, the circuit box would almost immediately pop because twice the voltage would be going through the system that's supposed to be. And everything looks good. So one of the things that I am going to be doing is, along with the batteries, we got this little command center right here. So this is the Renogy, what do they call this thing? The Renogy 1M1. So what this does is we will This hooks up directly to the batteries, I believe, but it might be through Bluetooth. And I'm going to build a little box and I'm going to mount it on the wall right here. And it's going to give us active, real-time information about our batteries. Okay? So one of the neat things, and I'm going to do some screenshots, screen video of my phone, that these batteries also have real-time Bluetooth that you can connect to them. So I can see both these batteries. I can see their health. I can see how much juice they have, how much percentage, the whole works. And I will show that to you on the screen right now. It's very interesting because you can go to each one. You can see the health. You can see everything about it. When it's all hooked up and they're charging, you can see that as well. And you can see how much amperature is going into it, how long it's going to take them to charge and everything. So you see these two wires right here. These are actually the two solar connector wires. The solar connector is right on the other side of the wall right here on the outside. Once we go on our trip, actually probably hopefully before we go on our trip, maybe on our next trip that we go to Elkmont, I'm going to try hooking up our solar suitcase that I got. I got a 200 watt solar suitcase, and we're going to try hooking it into this system as well. But for now, this is working so good. I'm not feeling any heat off the system at all, which is really good. If you were having any resistance at all, things would start heating up in here. Your bolts would start getting warm. Your cables would start getting warm. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the video, and I'm going to check a couple of things in the system. Then one of the next videos I'll do is I have to create a box for this to get this up on the wall, because really it's supposed to be a subset. Like you're supposed to set this into this wall, but I do not want to cut any holes. I want this camper to stay as original as possible, which is why everything that you might see is up by Velcro. These are two-sided Velcro. Over there, that's just little sticky things that go on the windows. And everything else that we have up here, none of it is destructive. We can take it all back out real easy. So till then, have a good one.